All right, cool. Well, hey, I'm sitting in for Cary, as you noticed. Um, Heather, I know you're on here as well, and there might be some others coming on, but I'm totally open to having this be a discussion or answering any questions as well. I think that's what Cary does anyways, right? She said that you guys are working on the 90-day action plan, and just what are some actions that we could get into. Maybe I'll just share, for why do I get into action with the things that I do during the day. The first thing that I do is think about, okay, what's important to me? Like, what are the things that I've gotten clear on that are important to me that I want to contribute in my way in the world, whether that's on a very small scale for that day or whether it's on a big scale, whether it has to do with just me and what I want for me and doing the things that I like to do and in the way that I want to progress as an individual. And then also knowing that there's the bigger picture that goes out beyond me. And on whatever scope I see that for that day. Now, my life is pretty much developed to where I know what those things are with pretty much clarity. You could say clarity, detail, accuracy. So now it's just a matter of, am I going to discipline myself to actually do the things that it takes to make those things a reality? So it's still, I wouldn't say it's difficult for me to do that now, but there's always that entropy, that downward pull to take the path of least resistance. There isn't anybody that can ever escape that, no matter what amount of success or a lack of success. There is no way to escape that. Taking the path of least resistance is always the easiest, right? And so what's happened is people that are successful have developed the habits and the attitude of, well, I'm just going to do it anyways, even though I don't feel like it right now, or if it's going to be, it's up to me. I remember that being a phrase that I learned in I think from Lenny, as I went to so many trainings and did so many trainings with him. A lot of these, what are they called? The little sayings that you could say, axioms or something like that. I lean on those things so much. They become a part of me. I want them to be a part of me. So if I want them to be a part of me, then I have to be integritous to what they describe or what they entail. So if it's going to be, it's up to me, means that if I'm going to want to be the best physical me that I can be, then I've got to work out and I've got to exercise. And a part of that is making sure I put in the proper nutrition. That's the huge part of it, right? That's like 80% of the results. And so even a saying like, you don't make abs in the gym, you make abs in the kitchen, that's something that will run through my mind to help with that positive upward climb rather than the natural inclinations to take the path of least resistance. And so when we have these little phrases that we can say to ourselves to spur us on and inspire us in that moment, it becomes like our own little coach. I don't know if I'm getting some background noise. And I don't know if that's you that we can hear. Is that me echoing? I'm not sure what that was. So like the audio book where it says your coach in a box or whatever, because it's a little recording of a book or something. That's what we want to really get to with ourselves, where we're a well of water springing up continually. And it's by having these little phrases that I've written down and I put them into my I am statements to where now they're just a part of me and I can call on them in the moment to inspire me. And so one of the daily methods of operation or the activities that I do is studying for sure. And I've been studying this morning. I have my 3x5 card right here that I've been working on. I actually put some new pictures on the back. And then I just did that yesterday, and I've already started changing it and putting things in there to make it even more clear. Those little things that I'm going to say to myself that are going to move me towards what my goals are. And they're going to dictate to me, you know, as I get clarity on who I want to, what I want to be, do, and have, that's pretty much clarifies what actions need to take place. So a big part of that still for me is always being in shape and eating right and having the energy. So those are going to be a fundamental part of my daily activity. And I eat pretty much every 2.5 hours. So that's something that's going 2.5 to 3 hours. So that's something that's going to be a consistent part of my day. So there's, you know, a good portion of it. I'm going to start out with personal study in the morning. I'm going to find something that gives me the internalizing process to help me want to reach for that upward climb instead of the entropy that wants to pull me down if I do nothing. So I'm going to come up with phrases and things like, I just wrote one on my board this morning from what I was listening to. And I'm still getting a little bit of background noise. The divine ideal. That was something that I heard as I listened to Thomas Troward's book, The Creative Process Within the Individual, this morning. So I wrote down the divine ideal. Well, that also got transferred over to my 3x5 card, because the things that I want to accomplish, I want to be in harmony with, you know, with God and that upward climb of everybody. So the divine ideal really means a lot to me because of what I studied about it this morning. That's going to be something that inspires me to do the right actions and to do them with excellence and to do them consistently. So I put at the top of it, instead of added to, I'm so happy and grateful and excited now that I'm a 13-star platinum with platinum earners on all my pay legs and over 500 cycles a week in each position, 2 maxed out centers, over $27,000 deposited in my bank accounts each week. This gives me incredible access to resources and greatly increases and facilitates my ability to create more progress and joy in my life, my family's life, and many, many, many people's lives throughout the world. So putting at the top of that, what I realized even more so this morning, that divine ideal. I am a creator. I facilitate the divine ideal. Tying into that and harmonizing with that adds so much more power to my statement. And so this is a daily method of operation that's the number one priority to me every single day. And if I slack off on that, then my actions start to slack off. I'm not as consistent. I'm more like a boat that's on the, you know, on the ocean without a rudder. Instead of me being intentional on what my actions are going to be that day, the circumstances tend to take control. So I'm creating my own circumstances by what I've defined who I want to be, what I want to have, what I want to do, which is going to be the impact I'm going to make. How am I going to make that impact? And as I define that, that tells me what my activities need to be. So like later this morning, I'm doing a Zoom training call for some people. That's dictated because of who I want to be and what I want to do, and also what I want to have. I want to have more income so that I have more access to more resources, not just to be a facilitator of other people's joy, but my own joy as well. You know, I got to go in and rent a nice 2,800 square foot condo in Bryan Head for the entire family to come for Thanksgiving. And that brings me great joy knowing that I get to bestow that gift on my family to be able to have that kind of time. But that doesn't come just because I want that. There has to be something that I have to do. And so what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to study things that excite me when it comes to isogenics. I'm not just going to study randomly. I'm going to study the things that excite me. What do I get the most joy out of from isogenics, and what do I love teaching about the most? Those will be the things that I'll focus on studying for myself, because as I study them, I automatically get excited about them, and I want to share that excitement with others. So when I'm on that Zoom call later today, maybe I don't talk exactly about those things, but there's going to be that excitement and that enthusiasm because they are related. It's all tied together and they all support each other. So there's this enthusiasm that comes from within. But that enthusiasm also comes from within because it's from God and the divine ideal of harmonizing my life in alignment with the life source, that life that wants to produce more, wants increase, abundance, and it wants us to express that. So that when we can get our lives in alignment with what we're doing on a daily basis, with the things that we're wanting, and figure out, I talked about a call with Lenny. There's a figuring out to do. I think it was on a Saturday call, the Saturday morning call. There's a figuring out that each one of us has to do. You can't go at things randomly, and you can't go at them sporadically, and you can't be the master of everything, or you can't be the jack of all trades and the master of none. You've really got to narrow it down. Otherwise, Kirk Metz really gave me something very powerful that I've always remembered. And this is probably my second year at Isagenix, so that would have been 11 years ago. He says, if you don't figure it out, and you just feel like you want to do good in the world, the universe will chew you up and spit you out, because it will drive you to strive to do all of those with some sort of excellence. It's going to push you to feel like you need to do all of those things, which is way too overwhelming. The living source, that driving living source, life source, isn't going to prioritize things for you. Whatever you give energy to, it's going to want to feed that channel and give that more energy, because it's going to want to express that through you. So if you have 10 different things that you're going to express yourself with, it's going to try and get you to do all of them, and you'll probably really accomplish very little with either. And then you'll be stressed out, overworked, depressed, because you're not being fulfilled. You really have to narrow it down. I don't allow too many things to grab my distraction, or to distract me, because I know that they will. All distractions are equal. And what I allow to come into my field of, what am I going to do today? And I don't guard that carefully, then my goals that I'm working towards will start to be impacted negatively rather than positively, because there'll be distractions. What does it say that something is a jealous mistress? I can't remember what. Do any of you remember what that is? It's but whatever you're doing, each one of those, if they're not aligned in the same thing, it's almost like each one is a jealous mistress. They're going to vie for your attention, and things will start coming up to try and cause you to focus on all of them. So, and that's just, that's a principle. So you have to really narrow things down and decide, what are the most important things to me, and what am I going to work on today? And if it's my Isagenix business, so that I can do more, so that I can bestow more gifts on other people, that's where the focus has to go, because that's going to be the thing that allows you to do that, allow you more access to it. But once you get it down to where you've really figured it out, like they really talk a lot. There's a lot of trainings out there on scheduling your time and how to get it all to work. Rather than trying to get it all to work, I really narrow it down to what has to work. And even if that means it's going to require more responsibility from some other individuals and them taking care of themselves. So each one of us has to decide, how far can I push that, and how much can I narrow down what I'm going to work on a daily. So hopefully that helps. You guys have any questions or comments? I just kind of threw something out there. I would say your daily method of operation is going to be first priority. Your own personal filling up yourself, getting those axioms, those phrases that are going to inspire you. You can only pick those up through personal development and gaining wisdom line upon line. As you do that, you'll get excited about those things, and they'll continue to inspire you for the rest of your life when you connect with some of those major ones. Like if it's going to be, it's up to me. And then just deciding, knowing what it is your goals are, what you're wanting to accomplish, and then that tells you what your work needs to be. So, and then the other things that I explained on this as well, focus. The universe, and that life force energy chew you up and spit you out. You take control of it, and you direct it in which directions it's going to come from. All right. Somebody's got some wind in the background. Not sure. Maybe that's me. I don't know. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Oh, I do. Let me grab that. So with my 90-day action plan and my goals that I've written down, it was the goals are the same. Well, my physical goals aren't the same, but my business goals are the same as when I first wrote this right after celebration, or right at celebration. Anyhow, and I found when I first got home from celebration, I was doing really, really well. Like I was going above and beyond the mark with making sure I was reaching my goals every single day. And I felt like in order to do that, like you're talking about, all distractions are equal. I felt like in order for me to do that, that I was having to give less attention to my family and to my kids than what I normally would. And so now I've not been as good at getting my actions to be consistent with what I've committed to. That's something I'm still improving on. Again, after this first trimester ended. And so I'm still working myself back into that. And I'm trying to say, how do I have this high level of excellence in my business and have this high level of excellence as a mom? And I know that the two have to be able to work together. I have a belief that I've created that the more successful my family is, the more successful my business is, and the more successful my business is, the more successful my family is. And right now it's me finding that balancing ground.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I can't give you any specific answers for you personally and what's going to be important to you, but some things to think about. A business isn't more important than your family, right? So how do you create it so that it is for your family without fooling yourself and actually spending so much time on your business that your family suffers in areas that you don't want them to suffer, right? I would think that that's a really hard thing to juggle. Cindy Hedges, I just know she said in the pockets of her free time, but you really don't have any free time. You have to create that because there's always something you can be doing. So you have to decide what are the things that I have to be doing when it comes to the family, and then when do I stop, because I'm sure there's something to be picked up all the time. There's something to be washed all the time. There's something to be scrubbed all the time. There's something to be, reorganized all the time. I would think in that case, which I'm not a great multitasker, that's why a lot of my focus could go right into one thing and be consistent with that. And not have to have my focus to be on the kids and those things that I just talked about. That was a great advantage for me, while Cary was, taking care of a lot of the things with the family, which both things are important. But through that teamwork, I mean, you can't deny that elephant that's sitting in the middle of the room. When you have two people working together like that, it's going to allow the one person to focus more on the business, right? So addressing if you're having to take it all on, it's not going to grow as fast, but you can be consistent with it if you make your actions consistent on a daily basis. So you have to say, like, I know I've heard many of the mothers in Isagenix talk about how, it's going to be 2 hours and it's going to be from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. or whatever time that might be for, the individual. But I know when they're consistent with that on a daily basis, then you can kind of fill in the other parts of the business and the pockets of your free time, maybe while you're multitasking. But there's got to be some time where there's I believe, some consistent focus on a daily basis that are going to be income producing activities. So if you have to divide that, okay, I'm going to put 2 hours a day into my business, Thursdays, it's going to be meetings, because without meetings, the business doesn't grow. It doesn't give people opportunity to bring their people, right? So if it's going to be, one day a week, I'm going to do presentations. Every morning, though, no matter what, if you have to wake up earlier, whatever the case might be, and just reset a schedule for the family, okay, by this time we're in bed because I'm waking up earlier. That's what I would do, because you're the parent and the kids are, they need to be asleep at a certain time anyways. We already know early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise. I think Harold B. Lee, a great man, said you got to go to bed early and get up early, right? So if you have to reset your schedule for the family earlier, to fill your own cup, to get those things that are going to inspire you every day. Because as soon as you let off of that, you're letting off the fuel that's really going to drive everything else. So, the morning thing is going to be something that, okay, it's going to be a half hour, 45 minutes every morning, regardless. Like healthy mind and body. It doesn't have to be healthy mind and body, but when you do that, you commit to doing it every day for 60 days. We should develop the habit of doing personal study for at least a half hour, bare minimum, every single day of our lives. And the morning is the best time to do that. So as far as, and I've been just throwing things out there, rephrase for me your question again to make sure I know that you're talking about how do you juggle things, I think. And is that what your question was?
Yeah, just how do I find that balance where I can have that high level of excellence in my business and with my family, and they can strengthen each other.
And do you understand that life force? Because it's going to want to get you to serve your family to where it's nonstop. Like that could chew you up and spit you out. And you have to decide, well, which things are not going to be remembered 6 months from now, 6 years from now. Those are the things where you can slide on a little bit. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room with those. Okay, maybe I didn't empty the trash and maybe it was overflowing a little bit for, an extra day. Or, maybe, some kids' faces were dirtier than they should have been, but nobody's going to remember that 6 years from now because it's not going to consistently be like that, right? So when you do that, what are you trading that for? You always got to think about what is the trade-off so that you don't have regrets when you look back. And if the trade-off has been, well, I've been spending a lot more time focusing on my family, but we're not moving ahead forward. I'm not gaining more success. I'm not being an example of what success can be. I'm just like in survival mode of helping everybody to survive. And then, 6 years from now, we look back and say, man, did I make a mistake? Because I wasn't that example for my kids that I wanted to be, that they could accomplish anything. And like Cary says, here I am feeling like I'm not accomplishing anything because all I've been doing is helping people survive from day to day. People are going to survive no matter what, right? So you got to decide, not no matter what, but you know what I mean. If you're not wiping their faces, they're not going to die, right? If you're not making their bed that particular morning because there's something, that you decided you're going to do during the day for your business, then do the thing for the business so that it grows. I would just say you got to be consistent. You're going to have to decide where is that wiggle room from where I'm helping people to just survive to what's essential. Are in survival mode. I guess survive is not the right word. People need to survive. You don't want to eliminate the things that are helping people survive. But I think you're getting the idea of what I'm saying, hopefully. I'm not going to say there's not a challenge there. I just didn't have that challenge because I had Cary, taking care of those essential things with the family. If you've got to juggle both, then you're just something has to be pushed to the side regularly and consistently when it comes to building your business. What is that going to be and when is it going to be? And if you don't really set those priorities, and you got to set them and then not care where the chips fall. I mean, you got to watch and see, okay, wait, is this sacrifice too great? Or that's that figuring out that we have to do. As you start to experiment with it, okay, here's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it consistently. After 6 weeks of doing that, you look at the results. Is your business moving forward, and is everybody still surviving? And if your business is moving forward, you're really being a great example of, yeah, you can be anything that you want to be. So what is it that's being sacrificed for that? Is it really a sacrifice, or is it a blessing that you're making those choices that you're making? So that's the figuring out. And nobody can, that's like trying to write your 3x5 cards for you. Nobody can do that for you, right? We can give you the principles behind it, but then you've got to figure out how do they fit into my personal life and what's most important. And I think what's most important, somebody's at the front door, is changing for people all the time. They let that what's most important change for them because they haven't made the decision on this is the goal and it's going to be achieved. That's the important thing. Let me just shut this door. Hang on. Sorry about that. And maybe that might be something that you're recognizing, that's something that's coming up for me right now, is that what's important, most important, is changing, and it shouldn't be changing, right? If I'm going to build the business, then it's important that I spend time every day doing that, but I'm making something else more important in the moment rather than doing that.
Okay, so I have a question on that. Like the first 6 weeks after celebration, and I was like really, really, really committed. I had 2 to 4 every day that I was working my business. I was doing my my daily minimum IPAs and then some, and I was very, very consistent, 5 to 6 days a week that I was doing this, and I wasn't seeing growth in my business. And so that's when, even with, I was getting up and I was doing my power hour every morning, making sure I was doing my affirmations. I was reading my 3x5 cards. I was doing my studying, getting my state right, going in, making sure my state was right before I would start working. And I wasn't seeing that. So is that something that's just like the law of gestation, or am I missing?
I would say, yeah, you were probably 3 feet from gold and gave up.
Oh, I didn't give up. I got sick.
No, well, so replace the word give up.
Okay.
You stop digging. For whatever reason, getting sick is still going to cause you to stop digging.
Right.
And if there's no actions in the digging, then the production is, then, what you're not going to hit the gold. And nobody knows when that gold is going to show up. It's not like, well, Dave says, or like when Dave does it, he knows that in 3 weeks, that's when the success is going to come. I don't know when the success is going to come. I just keep doing it. I was listening to Michael Klaus and Lynn Hagedorn's podcast yesterday. I would highly recommend it because he says, when you know that you know that you know, you just never give up. It's not even an option. You don't give up. You just keep going until it's accomplished. And so I would recommend, it was, see if I can remember it off the top of my head, because I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. It was Lynn and Michael being interviewed by Kirsty. And there's some great little axioms that you can come up with out of that talk that they had together. It was something about building your business. Let me just look through here real quick. It wasn't, I don't think it said like the mindset to building a business, but it was something like that. I think it was in November. No, it wasn't November. Skip that. That was another one. Previously played. Maybe it's doing what works for you. Let me just pull it up here real quick.
That one's Susan Sly.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Kirsty, who
Shows me previously played, but I listened to it yesterday. What it takes to succeed. That's at September 14th, 2016.
Bye-bye.
What it takes to succeed. And he talks about that. When you know that you know, you just don't stop. You just keep going. And
Spring Valley.
so, you know, you got to decide in that moment what is that's keeping you from stopping. You know, could it be deception? Were you going into transformation? You know, I don't know. It's deception's different for everybody. Anyways, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that helps. And it gives me hope too that as I get back on the horse again and I keep digging, that I'm getting closer to my goal. And it's not just start over.
Yeah, and just keep digging. You can't stop digging, because that's the whole principle of 3 feet from gold.
You talk about those axioms or idioms or whatever they are that go through your mind. That's what I'm mine now. Just keep digging. Just keep digging.
So to go along with that, I thought, okay, what's going to really make me like, you know, get excited or just give me that enthusiasm, right? When my personal study isn't working. So just think about what you just said there and listen to this. This is something that I literally downloaded on YouTube. And
Yeah, try to rerun or reruns. You said it went to a football game. That's what I said. They said.
so, you know, the Brady Bunch, I just told you I was singing that song the other day, keep on singing it to Carter for some reason. Doesn't that have a good vibration to it? You know, so I picked a few things. I picked the whole Looney Tunes, the intro song to Looney Tunes, just things that had that kind of comical, fun. Hey, quit taking yourself so serious and beating yourself up. Just get excited about, you know, whatever it is you're doing. And so those help me. And I've been walking around the house playing that song, and thankfully there's no cameras going, you know. But, you know, those are some of the things that you have to do. Successful people find a way to keep their vibration up and to keep that positive mental attitude. And personal study does it the most for me, but sometimes it takes something like the Brady Bunch, you know. All right, anybody else? Nothing? Okay. Hey, Lorraine. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording and then just check out here. So I'm sure Cary will repost it, but hopefully that helps. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Have an awesome day. Decide to be an awesome day.